Hi, I'm David Carrico, and welcome to my review of the Yongnuo 622N-TX radio trigger controller. Before we get into the TX, which is running about $65 right now, I'm going to give a little bit of history on the YN622N transceiver. This came out about a year ago in 2013 in the May-June time frame. And it was a breakthrough, not necessarily because of the functionality. It does provide great functionality, full TTL control, remote manual control of Nikon compatible flashes, high-speed sync, and at about 100 meters distance. But the breakthrough piece of it was the price. You could get two of these for around $85, and then by themselves I think they were $45 or $50. And so great value for the money. They did have a couple of issues, or do have a couple of issues. The control system on it is purely button based, no screen or anything, so you had to memorize the functions and how to get through it, and that was a little bit unwieldy. And there is no USB port, so firmware upgrades were not possible. A few of the early devices came out, and in the first firmware there were a few problems with the SB800s working in TTL mode. They did work in remote manual, but TTL had some problems. That was subsequently fixed in later releases, but there was no way to upgrade those if you were an early adopter. The TX is nice in that it actually works around some of those issues, and so even if you have an early transceiver, you can go back to using your SB800 in full TTL. So that's nice. The other thing that's interesting about these is it did provide, if you had an SB series, SB700, one of the SB900 series, or an SU800, you could put that on top and use the Nikon CLS control system up here in the flash itself, and that information you could control the three groups and the various channels that Nikon supports, and all that information would go into the transceiver, and so you could basically use your flash as the controller. It also had having passed through hot shoe, you can have an on-camera flash, which is nice when you want to use it. The bad thing is if you're using that as a controller but not necessarily using the on-camera flash, it adds a lot of bulk to your system and makes it somewhat unwieldy. So that was the disadvantage there. Fast forward into 2014, and you have the Yongnuo 622N-TX, which provides a full control system, a nice screen, which I'll get to in a second, and it's very sleek. Fits nicely. Nice weight distribution on the cameras, and so a really nice addition. It also adds some new features, which I'll get to in a second, similar to allowing the use of the SB800s in TTL now. That was a nice feature. It does have, similar to the transceivers, it's got 3 groups, 7 channels that you can use. You also can utilize control separately for each group the zoom of the flashes within that group. So you can manually set those in different increments from 24 to 200 millimeter, or you can set it to automatic. The 3 groups, you have one of 3 modes that you can put it in. Manual, so you can go from full power down to 1/128th in basically 1/3 stop increments. And the buttons down here allow you to skip at full stop increments or 1/3 stop. Similar in TTL, you can go plus or minus 3 EV, again in those 1/3 or full stop increments. And then the third mode is called Super Sync. So if you have studio flashes and you want to utilize them in high-speed sync, you can simulate that by adjusting the timing of Super Sync so that it fits your shutter curtain window, and it's very similar to the Photics Odin. I believe it's called the Overdrive system, and I haven't been able to test that yet, but it's a really nice feature, and I'm looking forward to doing that. A couple of other things on here is the box that it comes with a manual, but it also comes with these two cables, which talk to some of the other new functionality that's provided here. So if I plug this in, basically this provides remote triggering capability, which is nice to have. The other thing that I don't think I mentioned is it does have a USB port, so you do get firmware upgrades with this, which is nice, and then it does have a PC sync cable as well. So I'm going to set this up. I currently have it set to my Group B, which is this one in full TTL, and then this SB900 I have set up to Group C in manual and 1/128. Just an interesting thing about the Yongnuo system is when you hook your flashes up to the transceiver, you put them in TTL mode, and then it controls everything. So even remote manual, those flashes are set in TTL on the transceivers, and then the transceiver and the controller talk together to adjust the power levels manually. So, so I'm just going to take a test shot here, make sure everything works, and it did. And then I'm going to show you the remote triggering capability. So all you do is you get another transceiver, got to make sure it's on, and you press the test button, and the test button actually activates the focus mechanism of your camera, and then when you let go, it fires. So so a lot of great features there. As I mentioned, this is I think it's running about $65 right now, and just a number of great features. With the addition of the TX, the Yongnuo system is really maturing and is really becoming a not only the cost leader, but also providing a lot of great features as well to give other competitors a run for their money. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the review of the 622N-TX, and please come back if you're interested in seeing some of my other videos. Thanks again.